very happy that you are all here. Thank you so much for coming. Today, we're going to be talking about diversity and how inclusivity at work can help empower the LGBTQ plus community. So the queer community, I'm going to refer it as the queer community, And I'm going to be giving a small presentation. And my friend Sharmila, she was super gracious to help me build this presentation, and she's going to help me later and help you later completing your first diversity canvas. Diversity canvas, you asked? Well, great question. Thank you for asking. Yes, it's the canvas we developed together with Miro on how can you make sure that your product is inclusive and that you're listening to as many diverse voices as you can. When we talk about diversity, you're going to hear a lot about, female empowerment as well, a lot about, just all kinds of diversity. In this one, we're going to focus a lot on queer and LGBTQ plus diversity, just because that's a topic that's not always covered when it comes to business. And that's a place as well that startups tend to lack. And for those of you here today, there's not a lot of people, but it's recorded. So whoever's watching it later, sucker, because we will be giving away a Startup Bootcamp t-shirt that says "Innovation will save the world." It's a very stunning t-shirt. Okay. I designed it myself. So, it's gay approved. And we'll be giving it away to one lucky person after this that stays to the end. Okay, that sounds great. So we're going to start with a little bit of the agenda. We're going to get started. We already asked, how are you today? You chose your cat. What are your expectations? I wanted to know, what are your expectations? If you have no expectations, that's great. That's what my dad should have had of me. He had too many expectations, and then it was just disappointment from there on. And we're going to talk a little bit about diversity, and then we're going to work on this canvas. Who is here today? It's me, boring, and Sharmila, stunning, and Jair, who I didn't put on the slide. Sorry, Jair. But if you're not queer, you're not on the slide. We're very discriminatory here. Let me tell you, just kidding. Okay, so what is diversity and what is inclusion? You're asking me. I will tell you, diversity is about the data. We're going to be measuring things, and we're going to be talking about the what. We're going to be talking about a strategy, and inclusion is about the impact. It's the how. You can have a diversity strategy, but if you don't include people, you can always hire, have a very diverse team, but how are you going to make sure that you include them in your company, that they are heard, that they are as well, not such a small minority, like you have one and then they're not going to be heard. It's how everybody's contributions are valued and people can work at their maximum potential. And it's also about being a good ally. I see some as well non-queer people in this presentation today. How can you do it? It's about where you stand. And then you look around and like, that's so cool. I'm standing in this position, but who should be next to me? What am I missing? That was also a question here that I had. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm talking about diversity as a gay man, but what about, people who are even less represented than I am? And then I was like, okay, cool. Let's bring Sharmila next to me so that I can have even more power when we send this message. And I think that that's what being a good ally is about. And businesses, I'm going to bring you a really good insight here, which comes next to my whole Eat the Rich philosophy. That is, once you're a business, you have so much power to be inclusive. Because a government, for you to pass a law, to write and pass it, it can take years. But for you to hire a trans person today, all you got to do is want it. For you to create an inclusive policy, for you to put your pronouns on your email signature, all you have to do is want it enough and just start doing it. So businesses have an ethical responsibility as much as this is a business performance issue. And we're going to talk about business performance right now. A study from Deloitte proved, and hear me first, and then we're going to react on it, that companies that have an LGBTQ supportive policy experience 21.1 higher average firm value, 3.4% higher employee productivity, and 12.5% higher average profitability. Doesn't mean that having the queer people over makes them richer. Yes and no. It also means that your company has a better inclusivity, right? A plan and a better diversity strategy. And it is a part of a broader effort. So it doesn't equally mean better gains, but it does help you achieve that. So that's what we're going to be focusing on as well, the business gains. first disclaimer is it's very hard to get these percentages, okay? We're going to talk a little bit later about that, but people are often closeted at work. It's often as well, who wants to, suffer discrimination and be like, hey, by the way, I don't know if anybody heard, but I am a minority and maybe you guys should take me less seriously because of that. Like nobody wants to do that, nowadays. So that's a big concern. And second, governments have different ways of categorizing people, which is also another lovely thing. For you to get, categorized as trans, there's a whole legal process around that. For you to get categorized as non-binary, that's even harder. That's not even possible in a lot of countries, of course. So when you're talking about data, the data that we can get is the data from like really dedicated researchers that are trying to categorize and bring this data. According to the US Chamber of Commerce Foundation, I'm going to go really fast through this, okay, because this is just a bunch of data which is relevant for me to show to you why do we need this. But 80% of respondents said that inclusion is an important factor in choosing an employer. So 80% of people are going to look how inclusive is their company when they're applying for a job. 72% say they would leave an organization for one they thought was more inclusive. Now, that's awesome. 4.1% of the US population in 2016 said that they were LGBTQ. Now in the UK, you have this number going as high as 8% in recent polls. That is pretty awesome. They were reaching 10% of the population there. And of course, we are also vital if you want to reach the LGBTQ market, right? It's important because it makes your team stronger. You have different points of view there. It improves company culture. It enables the team, to just be who they want to be and go to work and perform. And who would have thought that when people feel welcome, respected, and valued, they perform better? A lot of the things that I'm going to say sound super basic, but it's just because it is such a basic thing that is not covered yet. Not covered yet? Gio, are you sure? The gays are everywhere. They're on Modern Family. We have Caitlyn Jenner in a cover of a magazine. Doesn't this mean that you guys have everything? Not really. How many percent of LGBTQ Americans you think have not been paid equally or promoted at the same rate as their peers? I will tell you how many. 22%. That's pretty shit. Do you know what's the percentage of queer people that are closeted at work right now? 53%. 53% are closeted, which means they do not feel safe. That is really scary. I'm going to bring you here for the Netherlands. For those that are here from the Netherlands, do you know what's the percentage of people that avoid often or always holding hands with their same-sex partner in the Netherlands? That's 57%. So if you're a straight person and you're out there holding hands with your partner, just know that 57 out of 100 queer people do not have the same privilege, me included. 14% felt discriminated against at work in the year before the survey. So it's never like, oh, in your life, have you ever felt discriminated? No, in the past year, 14% felt discriminated and 35% felt discriminated in at least one area of their life in the year before the survey. So this shows that we have a lot of work to do. And although the things that we're going to talk about today are pretty obvious, for a lot of people, they seem not to be. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this data there. And transgender workers are subject to even worse types of harassment, such as bathroom accessibility, being deliberately referred by incorrect pronouns, which means, of course, you can not always guess the pronoun, but once you know the person pronouns, why would you misgender that person? And there's a lot of people that are being deliberately referred by the incorrect pronouns. Tramila is nodding her head there because she has seen this more often.
A lot of times. And let me tell you, it really changes the environment at work because it makes your workplace a lot less safe. One thing I can add to this is there are a lot of trans people who aren't living as openly trans because there is a safety issue there. And the moment somebody at your work finds out you're trans and then deliberately misgenders you, it puts you in an unsafe position. Because at that point, the chances are really high that you will be faced with violence. Apart from this, that I didn't add into the presentation, and is something I've gone through from personal experience. I used to work in retail. And I faced violence when I was literally just registering something. I've had people spit in my face. I've been called names, and I am just 18 years old. And can you imagine how that would be for a customer? Inclusivity, especially for trans people, is really important because you as a company get to change narrative. You get to change that people feel represented.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Sharmila. Oh my God. Now you see, this is what we're here. This is what we're here to do. So also, having to tolerate inappropriate questions, it can lead to disengagement and avoidance. Questions such as, have you gotten the surgery or stuff like that? Why are people asking about private parts of each other?
In the workplace, even.
In the workplace oh my God.
I literally asked this at a job interview.
My God. Yeah, no, not the moment. Yeah. Not the moment. No. So again, your employees shouldn't be fighting to be heard and be dismissed about who they are, right? Let's deconstruct a few things, and then we're going to go straight or gay to the canvas. Did you get the joke there? We're going to go straight. No, nobody. I try. I really try. Okay. How you look has nothing to do with how you do your job, right? If I were here completely in drag, or I were here dressed like a nun, that wouldn't change anything on the message that I'm sending. That could change how you receive it, but the message would be the same. Now, if you're not even seeing me, if you're just hearing me, that also doesn't change anything, right? How I look. My ability of doing things doesn't change by the way I behave, by the way I talk, by the way I live my life. And a lot of people are like, well, Gio, but shouldn't this stay just in your bedroom, or shouldn't this stay just in your personal life? Well, here's the thing, being gay and being queer in my case, is much as a part of my life as being straight maybe of yours, because that's the clothes that you wear. And in the case of straight guys, not always the most fashionable ones. And I have to stand there and look at that. And I'm just kidding. No, but it is about the clothes you wear. It is about the music you play, right? It is about the way you speak. It's about the words you use. So whenever we see, I use this example here, which is like the most obvious one. Rappers talking about sex, right? We hear as well as kids, we see people kissing, having sex on television. And for me, that's foreign. And I am used to seeing that all the time. It just stands out to you maybe as a straight person just because you're not used to it. But that's our way of expressing ourselves, and that's our way of being. And that's our way of being 100%, right? That's not our way of being when we walk into our homes and then all of a sudden I'm gay. Like, I cannot, unfortunately, turn it off. That's that. How can you empower someone at your job? Now you're feeling, oh my God, Gio, you told me so many sad things, sad story, hashtag. It looks very complicated to be a queer person in today's world. How can I empower you? There are very good ways that you can empower me. Thank you very much. My company, for example, can pay me more. Just kidding. You can give a person full undivided attention when they're speaking. Okay, that is, I think, a very important aspect, that the interrupting, we are very often interrupted. Any minority, I see as well, there are women as well here in this chat. And I mean, when I say minority, by the way, I hate the term minority, because if we put us all together, we're not minority, okay? And we're only minority in shit companies, sorry. So listening and learning is very important, because you will learn. A lot of people sometimes interrupt, and I'm like, well, you may interrupt because you disagree, but you disagree coming from your point of view, not from our point of view, from this point of view. So people have different points of view, and you can learn from them. Also, you can echo and attribute. What is echoing and attribute? I'm going to say that a lot. For example, if I'm on a meeting, right? I am white, well, I'm Latino, white passing, and I am a gay man. I have more privilege in my life, have had more privileges than Sharmila. If Sharmila gives a great idea, what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to that idea, and I'm going to be like, hello, everybody. Have you heard this idea from Sharmila? That is awesome. It's this, 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 and this. So it's called echo and attribute. And you attribute it and you repeat it. If you hear, then, Jair, what you are doing basically is you're being an awesome ally, right? You are echoing, attributing you're giving me a space to speak right now. So that's great allyship. You can also learn languages, learn the language, right? The pronouns, but also the expressions and the ways of living and being, which is just basically, understanding queer people as a whole. You can mark your business as LGBTQ friendly on Google if you have a physical business. That's super important. I, for example, check before I go to any restaurant if it's an LGBTQ friendly restaurant or anywhere, because I don't like getting discriminated. Bring someone to educate your employees, especially if you are hiring somebody that is from a minority. Donate and be active on social issues. See a lot of companies, not going to name names, that put rainbows all over their social media. And what do? How do you donate? For Pride events to happen, they don't happen out of nowhere. Those things don't come for free. How do you fund these movements? How do you fund the lawyer of trans people? How do you fund those surgeries in countries where the surgeries are not possible? Enforce paid family leave. You have paternal leave and maternal leave, but some families don't have only moms and dads. Some families have 2 moms, some families have 2 dads. That's super important. Use non-binary wording. So I am guilty of that and I'm trying to change. So again, I'm not perfect here, but saying guys, you can say everybody, you can say folks, you can say team. Have zero tolerance for discrimination. And that's super important. I think that a lot of people are like, hey man, can you try to avoid? No, just go straight to the thing. This is not tolerated in this company. You will be reprimanded here. This is an official thing. It's going to stay in your employee file. It needs to be extremely important, and it needs to be an action that you take. And hire diverse. And I have to say this thing, of course, it's always about hiring the best person for the job, but most people are straight and cisgender. You will receive more straight cis resumes. What is a cisgender person? A person that was assigned at the same gender at birth that they identify themselves and live throughout their life, right? I would be considered a cisgender male, right? And then you can be transgender. Sharmila, correct me if I explained it wrong.
Absolutely right.
Oh my God.
Yay.
Amazing. I rehearsed it. So if you want to build a diverse team, you got to look for those people who stand out, who stand out of the curve, who are not the Pepijn Zaderveld. You have to find people that are different. In conclusion, it's not about people hiring people just because they're different. It's about giving as well them the same opportunities that straight and cisgender people have, because that's what they deserve. And we don't need special treatment. A lot of people think, oh, queer people, they're asking for special treatment. We're just asking for respect, which is the same respect you would give a straight white man, right? When a straight white older man talks in a room, everybody normally shuts up. We're just asking for that same level of respect. And treat them how you want to be treated. Things you can do immediately. You can add pronouns to your emails and signature so people know how to refer to you. Isn't that awesome if you just know how to refer to people straight on, and that's not an issue anymore? You can refer to me as he, him, or you can refer to me like my dad. Just don't. You can support organizations by sharing their posts on social media. That costs you zero money, and that increases their visibility, their engagement rates, and all that. You can also speak up about injustice, especially outside of the workplace. You can go to your manager if you see somebody being mistreated. You can also go to the police if you see somebody being mistreated. You can also go to a corporate if you see, you don't have to go all the way, but one of my favorite things on the planet is to find transphobic people on LinkedIn so I can screenshot their company, their message, and send it to their company. I love doing that. Make them shake. But anyway, you can always, flag if you see injustice. Create open conversations about inclusivity, even when you are in that inclusive. Yeah, you don't have to be perfect. Everybody's on a mission, right? Look at me asking Sharmila for reference. Please, Sharmila, please help. Because I know I have a lot of things that I learned wrong. And Sharmila is here not to educate us all, but to, help us on our journey, right, Shar?
Absolutely. And that's the thing. People often think that inclusivity and diversity has to be perfect all the time, but everybody makes mistakes. Even I, as a gender diversity educator, I have also misgendered people on accident. It happens. We're human. Things happen. Everybody makes mistakes. I mean, iconic tagline. So make sure when you make a mistake that you do take responsibility for it. You don't have to be inclusive 100% all the time. Mistakes happen, but do take responsibility for them, because that's the most important part.
And you can also bring this workshop to your organization. What are you offering today for only $3.99? No, for reals though, I will gladly do this workshop in your organization for free as long as you're donating for a cause. Either the COC, I think, is the one for gays in the Netherlands.
Yeah, with the COC, which is the organization here in the Netherlands, but also I think worldwide, who helps the LGBTQ plus community in lots of ways. There are lots and lots of organizations that do help the LGBTQ plus community, but make sure that they are a non-profit organization, please, because there are still a lot of organizations that try to that like to steal money from us, the people who need it.
Yeah, first they don't allow us to have kids, and then they take the money that we have because we don't have kids. I tell you, very wise, very wise. Okay, though, so this was it on the presentation. You have any questions, you can drop them here. But I will show you how to fill the diversity canvas. Who's excited about filling this diversity canvas? Give me a yeah. Yeah.
Raise your hands up.
Put your hands up. Put your hands up. No? Okay.
Yes,
Thank you. Hey.
Yay, it's a party.
Lovely. It's a party now. I love that. Okay, work. What are we going to do? We are going to do the diversity canvas. And I'm going to explain it to you right now. It is divided in five parts. How we include, so which is how your product or company will include people, okay? That's number one, which means can be removing gender from sign-up forms. It can be adding queer people to the team. It can also be how do you make sure your platform is also a safe space, right? So for example, avoiding hate speech, right? Filters or something like that. You can also, you will go to the next one, how we listen, how you listen to queer voices when building your product or project. If you do not have a queer person in your team, interview one. We all do as startups, customer development process, right? Customer development interviews. Those interviews you always have to conduct as well, with as diverse of a group as possible, so that you're sure that this product will cater for everybody and not just for, you know, straight, cis, white people. And how do we help? How does your product or company helps the community outside of it? Now, very interesting to have a look at that. Hi, Tatiana, as well. How you can focus here. How will this help people? How can we share this profitability? You know, one thing that I love about the Miro startup program is that by helping the startups when they don't have a lot of money to pay for the program, you know, they help them grow and they help them be better and have a higher chance of one day paying for the Miro membership fee. How does your product will help your community? Just developing it. And then we're going to talk at the bottom here. We're going to talk about voices. You're going to have your key queer voices. So how do we include, how do you bring people that are going to bring this main diverse in the insights, but who, specifically who? So let's say a key voice in our company is Sharmila. Sharmila works in our company as a digital community lead. She's responsible for helping us manage our community. And why is she the one responsible to manage our community? Because we trust that she's going to be as inclusive as she possibly can on taking care of our community, and that whomever is going to come to our community feels represented and taken care of, no matter where they are, who they are, and all that. So we make sure that Sharmila is a key voice in our company. And who is the key ally? Which allies will use their privilege to support diverse members of the team? And I put here a great strategy. If you face difficulty at first, to have your allies repeat the ideas of a queer team member and then credit them to make sure that they are heard. So a key ally of today is Jair. Everybody, one clap for Jair. Because Jair has invited us to speak, right? What a key ally. But I'm also a key ally of Sharmila in every meeting that we're together. And Mercedes is a key ally of me. She loves my ideas in every meeting that, and she is a straight woman, has more, you know, room than I have often in meetings. So this is what we're going to be talking about. How do we include, how we listen, how we help, your key voices and your key allies. So I want you to think about a project or your company. Okay, we have many diversity canvases here at the bottom. And what are we going to do is I'm going to give you a timer. And during this timer, you will fill the canvases, and which is plural of canvas, obviously, as everybody can get it. And me and Sharmila will go after on the canvases, giving you guys feedback for those who want. Jair, how long do you want this timer to run for?
Shall we do 7 minutes?
That sounds like some good time. Shall we do it in 5 and let people suffer just a little bit?
Okay. All right.
Yeah? Okay, stunning. Jair, will you start the timer?
Yes.
I will start then with somebody. Who wants to start? Otherwise, I would choose someone at random. Just kidding. That's horrible. I hate it when my teachers did that. Because they always chose.
That's how you can now do some payback and just do it. Take revenge on them.
I will start with Sharmila. Sharmila,
Sure.
how do you include people in your businesses?
Yeah. So, really quick, I give makeup courses for trans people, and I've created the first studio where they can get expression, where they can get coaching on gender expression. And one thing I really want to work on is including more LGBTQ plus people of color in my projects. Because right now I really find that most of the work is found on me, but I am a white passing trans woman, and I still have, in that sense, more privilege than LGBTQ people of color. And also ask pronouns at the first meeting. So even when I meet someone for just a coffee, ask for their pronouns so I know how to refer to them. And that way I don't have any room for mistake. How I'm going to listen is ask direct feedback on how we, as my company, can improve our way of working. So is the way we refer to people inclusive enough? Can we do more so people feel safer in the studio? And also give people the platform that they deserve, because they deserve to be heard. And for me, I have a pretty big platform on social media. So being able to also elevate them and give them a place to just say what they want is, in my opinion,
That's
really
stunning.
important.
Giving them the voice as well, right?
Yeah. How I'm going to help more is donating to LGBTQ plus organizations. And one I apparently didn't type is also donating to queer businesses. So instead of going to the simple McDonald's, Primark, the bigger corporations, look into businesses that are from queer people and buy from them. Also be transparent about hiring. Something I think a lot of companies can really improve on is be transparent about who they hire.
And why they hire who they hire.
Yeah, who they hire, why they hire. I think especially since last year with all the uprisings of, for instance, BLM, a lot of companies have focused on being transparent more about who they hire and why. And I think it's still really important, because you can have one trans person, but what kind of role do they have? Are they just there 2 hours a week, or do they have an actual role?
That's pretty awesome. Oh, sorry. Yes, key voices and key allies.
For me, key voices are Sylvia and Nadine, my 2 co-workers at my studio, who I work very closely with and who I am collaborating with more to create more projects. And key allies are actually my 2 best friends who help me a lot with keeping engagement up with my own company and also spreading the word, who are Marijn and Vlies.
And I am chopped liver in your life. I do not exist. I don't make it to the board.
You are in my company. So
cool.
I didn't speak about SBC. When it comes to SBC, that's your part.
Who wants to go next? And I cannot see the chat. Oh, I found the chat. Okay, I found the chat. I understand technology. How to product should probably. Who Who wants to go next? Should I will pick somebody at random? No? Oh,
I would go next.
yes, Albertina, bring it.
Yay!
Okay. Okay, so just for your knowledge, I am in an online talk show, and there we are basically focused right now, or we want to represent BPOCs who have not really a voice in the media, and we want to represent them, show people that we have a voice and that we don't want people just to talk about us, but also that we have our opinions. And yeah, and the sad thing is right now we are more focusing on BPOC subjects, but not on queer subjects on the talk show. And we also don't have someone from the, or at least I think we don't have someone from the queer community. And that's why I'm here. I would really like to have some people who are in the queer community to join us in the team. And yeah, that's why I wrote, how do we include more queer people, so that we should hire new queer people, and that also are and we should invite more queer people to our talks. So we are also right now trying to have a new talk, and and we also want to have queer people there because it's about sex liberation. And yeah, and and we also should have more queer subjects that are very important. And that's why I said, that's why I duplicated the how do you say that, the yellow things.
The post-its.
The post-it, thanks. Yeah, and that's for me like the same thing. And how could we help the queer community outside of our workplace? And I thought maybe since we have a talk show, we have a platform where we can invite more queer people, that other queer people who are in the closet maybe feel represented and say, oh, there's someone just like me, and or people who are not from the queer community be, oh, okay, we are more aware now about these subjects. And yeah, we also had a talk about being queer and Muslim, and it was very enlightening because I had a talk with a queer Muslim, and she was like 17 years old, and she said that was really important for her to see that. And that's why I would like to have more from that, and more representation also for queer people. And key voices, I really don't know someone from our media startup who is queer, but I know that my boss has a lot of connections to the queer community. That's why I hope she soon will find someone who would like to join us. And key allies, I would say our team, because we're really diverse in race, religion, but what the queer community spaces where we want to have someone there. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you. Ari, do you want some feedback as well, or some additions?
Yes, of course, please.
Cool. So I think that, Sharmila, do you want to start? Do you want me to start? You have ideas on how to increment here?
Yeah, I think that you are at a great starting point. Because yes, hiring people and inviting them to talk is really important, because I think that is where the conversation starts, and you also get to create more impact. So I think that's really good. What I would also really love to see, to include more people, is apart from talking about queer subjects, to not have that as a focus point. Because the thing that creates is tokenism. It is just invite them to talk about their queerness and then bye. Make sure to also give them the space to talk about things they're passionate about. Because while we do want to create awareness, we don't want it to be tokenism.
Absolutely. So you can invite Sharmila as well to talk about makeup. You can invite me to talk about, why my dad left me. Just kidding. No, you can invite me to talk about product, which I'm very passionate about. You can talk to me about, all these things that shows that, we're more than just, our orientation or the gender and etc. So I think those are all super cool. That's a very cool way to add, Shamil. Thanks. Also, if I can say that, as well, not crowdfunded, but crowdsource it. You can always ask people like, would you like to be here? I think one thing that I always love to say is we are never invited to sit at the table, in the sense that we don't have the same connections, right? Often, and the same links to important people that would select us to speak. So if you just ask, like, who do you think, I think makeup companies do this the best, right? Like, who wants to be a brand ambassador? Just leave your Instagram here below and we're going to check you out. Not so much by indication, but really by going around and the world and say, who has a cool story to tell? Because people that normally wouldn't be connected to you can find their way to you. And I think that's beautiful. Right?
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here because I have a, sorry. Yeah.
I think also looking at outside of the connection that, for instance, your boss has, you have more opportunity, because if you just look within those squares, you have no room to grow. And maybe that one person who would love to join has a really inspiring story that can create more awareness and create an open conversation. And from there, you can also grow the platform. Also, just business-wise, it's really good to include other people outside of friends and connections that you already have.
Yeah, and this helps us as well break misconceptions, stigmas, all that. I'm gay and I don't like to party. I'm not always out dancing, and I will give you shit advice on clothes. So this helps you break these things and break this mold and break this idea that people have, and include more and talk about topics that they're passionate and show that we are just as smart as everybody else. Okay, this is the thing. I'm going to make a deal here. It's 7:55. Oh, 7. I know numbers. I'm from human sciences. It's 5:56. It's 5 minutes to 6. It's 4 minutes to 6 now. And it's basically Friday, 5 p.m. Okay. In my mind, there's always Friday, 5 p.m. somewhere. We're all ready to have a beer. So if y'all want, we can do one more board together, or we can end. Any volunteers for another final board? This is your moment.
I'll go.
Yes. Awesome. Shane, yours was here. Shane,
Yep.
tell us a little bit first about Haltech.
Okay, so I'm the marketing manager at Haltech, and so we're based in out of Halton region in Ontario, where you can think of us as like an accelerator company. So we provide advisory services, education, and like strategic connections to people with tech startups. So people with tech startups can come to us, and we can give them the resources and the education that they need to grow and scale their business and kind of get to the place of profit that they want to be at. So a lot of what we do is putting on events and educating the clients on marketing, things from the business model canvas, kind of all across from the early stage to the later stage. So that's kind of what we do. And we recently just assembled a diversity and inclusion committee. So this event is like perfect right now for me. Yeah, so that's kind of what we do and what's going on with us.
Awesome. Super happy to hear. Do you want to walk us a little bit through your diversity canvas made on Miro TM? Yeah,
sure. So for how we include, I have pronouns in the employee email signatures. I also really liked the idea of marking the business as LGBTQ plus friendly. I've noticed that with a number of businesses and restaurants and things like that around my hometown. So I think that's an awesome thing to do as well. We also want to shed an equal light on diverse clients. So when we're featuring clients and when we're shedding a spotlight in our client spotlight, we want to make sure that we are giving equal opportunity to any underrepresented groups. and then educate the employees and our mentors. We have a team of mentors and advisors who we can connect our clients with, and so educating them that way, they're a main touch point with our clients as well. So making sure that they're using the proper language and those types of things. The paid family leave may be a policy implementation that I think we could explore. As well as part of what we're doing with the Diversity and Inclusion Committee is we will be creating a diversity and inclusion policy. And then part of that is zero tolerance for discrimination. And then also to hire more diverse people. And then if you look at how we listen, I've put here that we'll use non-binary wording. I like the echo and attribute method. That's a really great way to make sure voices are heard and acknowledged. And also we can ask our clients, like, what can we do to improve the diversity and inclusion at our company? But also like get a gauge for how safe and included people feel currently. Like how, do you feel safe and included or represented at Haltech? And then maybe, do a comparison between now and after a lot more efforts are implemented and kind of see how that might have changed.
This is not paid advertisement, I swear, but we are using Office Vibe to do that internally here. And it's pretty awesome. You can collect, it's 100% anonymous feedback from all your employees, but you can still see which employees are not replying. So you don't see who replied what, but you can see which ones are not active, which I think gives you a pretty awesome, you can push those that are shy and be like, please come and fill in your feedback form. And it has all sorts of questions, and you can also make custom ones. Office Vibe is the name. It's pretty cool.
Okay, awesome, thanks. Could you just maybe type it in the chat? I want to be able to make sure that I hear it correctly. And then for how we help, we want, I think, educating the clients too. So like this event would be awesome to do for our clients. So I might be in touch. And then speaking on any social injustice issues also outside of the workplace. For key voices, I have myself. I believe currently that I'm the only LGBTQ plus person on my team. So I would be a key voice, like in terms of the actual workplace itself. And then key allies would be my other employees and our mentors. And then our diversity and inclusion committee would be a big one too.
It's super awesome to have a diversity and inclusion committee. We saw on research that I think about 70% of companies only have a LGBTQ policy because they have a diversity and inclusion committee. So pretty interesting, right? That if you don't have somebody that is extremely dedicated to that, that does not come naturally, which is why we still need in 2021 workshops like these. But yeah, please do stay in touch. I think what you can definitely do to listen and help is both, right? I think I will put it in between there, is invite the LGBTQ people to speak at events, because you give a voice, you listen and you let them speak. Talking about letting speak, very rude of me. Sharmila, do you want to start?
I'm honestly really impressed because I think these are really key things, especially in the tech industry, are really important because a lot of representation still lacks there from what I can tell and see.
Definitely.
What I would also really advise is to not only educate, put on education for clients, but also within their own company. So to look into, because from what you said, you don't know if you're the only queer person in your company right now. Try to also find someone who could give a workshop like this one to your company. Look into when hiring someone. I think this speaks for all. Look into when you're hiring someone, how do you feel about these kinds of topics? We have a diversity and inclusion committee. Do you feel comfortable talking about sexuality? Do you feel comfortable talking about gender expression? Because the moment somebody doesn't even want to talk, do you even want to have those kind of people in your company when you're trying to build a difference there?
Yeah, and if you know that that's not a topic that they like, if you know that they don't want to even bring that topic up, you know that you might have more allies than you think in that company, but they're a bit too shy and concerned that that might be a thing. Also, if you have a diversity and inclusion committee and you are the only queer person in your team, we got to change that.
Yeah.
All the gays applying to Haltech right now. We're going to change this around. I was the only queer person that started bootcamp for the longest time, and it sucks. You feel so lonely. You feel so ostracized, and it is not a good feeling. Not saying that that's how you feel. That's how I felt back then. And then whenever we had more, it was just like I had breath, like I have somebody that I can talk to at work about things that are, corresponding to my culture. I'm so tired of sending all the RuPaul's Drag Race shows to Maria, I need more queer people here because I'm tired of converting the straight girls to watch Drag Race. But but indeed, I think that's super cool. If you want, more than glad to do that. Also, just one thing, how we include, that will be, and how we listen, use non-binary would be a little bit in between both. The non-binary wording. So what I will do now is I will wrap this up with a note. You can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Giovanni. It means John in Italian. And you can find Charmila as well on LinkedIn. You can add us there. You can connect with us there. And what you're going to do is, if you want more advice, support, you can just message us with your board, with your diversity canvas, and we're going to give you undivided attention. I would like to thank massively Charmila for being in our company, for helping me so much as well on my day-to-day, for being such a fantastic fighter for the cause in all the areas of her life. I would like to thank Miro for hosting us today, and my company Startupbootcamp for being the best fucking place to work at in the world, and for letting me be my queer self here every single day. This t-shirt, I will send an email to whoever gets it, and the reason why you got it, okay, is because you're stunning, and also because I can ship it to you. I need to see where you're from as well, okay? It's hard to ship to the US now. We gotta pay a lot of taxes. I gotta make sure that the dolls can get the t-shirt. Hello. I will give the word now to Jair, but thank you so much for joining. I have not been interacting before, but I have been listening. Mercedes says, this past year I have been working on cultural diversity a lot, learning a lot here again about diversity. 3 things that I have found to be good to help with cultural diversity are: have someone engaged at the highest level who support diversities and see why it's essential. Yes, come through.
Absolutely.
You cannot have a gay intern. That does not suffice. You can have the gay intern, but make sure you also have a gay boss or a gay lord. Just kidding. You may make sure you have queer people on the top of your company. This person can also showcase their behavior. Absolutely correct. And mentoring as well to help people also to be able to be promoted in the company. Mercedes, speaking the truth, 100%. Again, I think we're way past the point where we just need the opportunity to get the job. We need the opportunity to as well perform at that job and not be put in a corner, right? As queer people, but also, as any kind of members of the diverse community. And I will use this word for last time, minority. We're not a minority. We need to stop calling ourselves a minority, okay? We are a majority when we're all put together. That's it. I will wrap it up. This was the longest wrap up of my life. I'm going to give the word back to Jair because I know he has something to say. Yes, Jair.
Before, thanks. First of all, I'm going to thank you after this as well. But first of all, we still had 2 questions on the board. Yeah, don't forget the questions.
Okay.
One is from me, but we don't start with the one from me, but the one just underneath it. Is it okay to ask for gender identity on sign-up forms to collect demographic data if you can include a prefer not to answer option?
Ooh.
As long as you don't make it mandatory, that's what I read before. What do you think, Charmila?
Absolutely. And what I would really, I think one thing you can implement, instead of making it a like that you have to mark one option, make sure to include also an open option. So when there isn't when the certain gender identity isn't represented in the form, they can fill it in. And don't just put it at gender identity, because, for instance, one thing I've learned is that non-binary people can also use binary pronouns.
Yeah.
So now a lot of non-binary people who go by she, her pronouns, but do identify as non-binary. So also try to do one about gender identity and also ask for the pronouns that they use. Just so when any sign up form, if you need to get back to them, you can make sure to refer to them in the right way.
All right, great, thanks.
Yeah, and this others idea is really cool because, you know, one thing that you want to avoid is, what are you, male, female, or I prefer not to answer. I prefer to answer, thank you very much, but I can't. So that would be a good one.
Yeah.
How do you go about this in conservative cultures? I would say best way to do it is, for me, Shar, you can start as well.
Yeah, this is a hard one because I think in a lot of conservative cultures, a lot of these things are taboo.
Yeah.
So yes, when you talk about these kinds of issues, it is a risk because you know that in conservative cultures, a lot of times you will be shut down. People will say, why are you talking about this? This is not normal. Why are you putting this propaganda on us? Pushing the gay agenda, etc., etc.
What about straight pride? I've heard this so many times.
I know. And yes, it is hard and it's taking a big risk, but do know that taking that big risk can pay off a lot. It can pay off a lot because you get to make a difference for the people who are underrepresented in those cultures.
And also talk to the top layer boss. First and foremost, I think that I have never met a very successful entrepreneur that would be, you know, like a mega bigot. And if I knew this person, then I would just not work at their company. Talk to your boss, talk to the highest person on the chain and send a concern, send a message. I'm concerned. I don't think this really matches who we are as a company. And I would like to have more space, but I don't have anybody like myself on top. I don't have a good mentor that's gonna help me open the way. Normally, you know, this helps. If you also work with a little bit of shame. I don't think this is the kind of company that we are. Works wonders. Also pointing out, you know, those microaggressions. Like, what did you say? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. And see if they say it again. People are never gonna do that ever again. Also asking for direct reprehension, you know, like, hi, this was really rough. Like, this is not how you talk to me. This is what he said, and I really will not stand by it. Let's not forget that in a lot of countries, it is a crime, right? Homophobia. Yeah. So it is super important. It is super relevant that you point that out. Hey, by the way, this is not my preference. This is a crime, sir. Also, sir, this is a Wendy's. I love saying that, but no, but indeed it's a crime, and that's what you can always bring to. We have specialized programming for women founders. Is it inclusive to refer to the audience as women founders, or perhaps not human, Jesus, I just say human, huh? Women founders are perhaps women identifying.
Identifying.
I would say woman identifying also. Yeah, if you're including women identifying, or also, you know, the non-binary folks could also just go in there. How do you do that? That's a rough question.
Yeah, I can speak from experience here because I've worked with a platform who was really about including more female entrepreneurs, female identifying entrepreneurs. And this was something that I've come across. I was like, okay, but how can we make this inclusive also for non-binary people? I think the main focus in this program that you're talking about is people who are female identifying. And it can either be someone who has a female gender expression, it can be someone who identifies as a woman, but try to open up with conversation. And when you're doing it in wording, in branding, make sure to talk about female identifying. Because for me, for instance, I don't feel included when people talk about women leaders, because I most of the time get excluded from it because I'm a trans woman and people don't view me as a woman. That's just the way society works, especially here in the Netherlands. So that's why when somebody says we are looking for female identifying founders, I feel way more included. I feel far more welcome because it is more inclusive language.
Awesome.
Okay, so female identifying over woman identifying.
Yeah, because woman is yeah, I would say female identifying just because
it's more common language as well,
feels more
right?
inclusive. And again, there are also a lot of non-binary folk who would say we are more feminine identifying or female identifying. It's a
And you
really
can
big
also-
spectrum.
You can also say it's a female empowerment program, and then you can say clearly on your website it's for also we also include, you know, non-binary, female identifying, also in your imagery. When you have, you know, photos, you also need to make sure that you include that also on who you bring as a speaker. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sharmila, as it's more about the general practice than just than only the choice of words. Choice of words is important, but also who you bring to speak. You know, if you're bringing a trans woman to speak, I mean, that's already half the job is done there. And if you can make it clear, that's also pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think it doesn't stop at the wording. It doesn't stop at just explaining what you can do. Make sure to actually include them also into the program. Make sure to let them. One thing I've been really trying to do is give a platform to people who need more representation. So for instance, it is Black trans women, it's non-binary people, because I have a platform, I can use it for myself, but how can I grow from that? If you give them a platform, it makes sure that other people know I am included here, I'm represented here, and I'm welcome. Because I can say it, but when they don't see the representation yet, people won't act if they don't see the proof.
Yeah, 100%. It's the same as the, you know, Primark's Pride collection. How do I know, you know, like, great, I can show my pride, but how do I make sure that you are actually proud to have me there? Are you helping my community, or are you just selling me t-shirts? I'm not saying anything about Primark. Maybe they do. I don't know what they do, but I'm just saying in general. The proof is in the pudding. And talking about a company whose proof is in the pudding and keeps helping startup founders, queer or not, everywhere. How about that, Miro?
Wow, thanks, Giovanni. First of all, a big round of applause for our friends from Techstars. Thank you very much for this amazing, energetic.
Startup Bootcamp, not Techstars.
Wow, did I really say that? Wow.
You did. Startup Bootcamp, the gay ones, the cooler ones.
Thank you so much for doing this with us. And really, really nice to see also the engagement. A lot of canvases filled in. And I think good news for everybody that is here, because Startup Bootcamp promised that they will have the diversity canvas soon in our Miroverse, which is our user-generated template library. So that means that it's open source. You can take it to every company that you want to show it to. And if maybe you cannot explain it, then just ask Giovanni or Sharmila to help you to explain it at the company that you want to inform. Thank you again, guys. Just a quick roundup from my side from the Miro Startup Program. If you didn't get your $1,000 in Miro credit as a startup founder, go to miro.com/startups and you can fill in the form. And you can also choose, for example, Startup Bootcamp as your partner if you're working together at Startup Bootcamp. And then we hope to see you also again in our upcoming startup community events. Will be a completely different topic next time, but also really interesting. If you want to have a one-on-one session with somebody from our startup program, we have an Ask Me Anything session where you can talk about anything on your founder journey or just about Miro. And please connect with me on LinkedIn so we can stay in touch. Thanks for everybody that was here. The recording will be also sent to you in a bit. And I hope to see you in the future. So thanks again, guys. And sorry, not guys. Thanks all. Yeah, I learned something.
Thank you, everybody.